David Thorpe, it is time for Bring It In. True Hoops, little Zoom show. How the heck are you?
Oh, it's brought in now. We have brought it in.
We have brought it in. You may notice I'm in a different setting. It's Judy's house. I'm at Judy's house. It's very exciting. All right, so we have a lot to talk about today. I want to start with something that I think we should talk about today, and we'll just keep it going, lively conversation, but for the next year or whatever. A short list of players are candidates to ever become MVP. There's a reason I want to get into this, but I would love your person who's been watching basketball very closely for decades assessment of who's on that list.
Well, you got a pretty long list in there, and I added a bunch of names to it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure either of us didn't go a little too far, but you the note you meant to me was 1% chance.
1% chance.
And so so anyone that's a primary scorer, elite level defender, real impact player, needs to be on there. So do you want me to start going down this list?
Okay, I'll read off names. Yeah. You say yes or no.
Okay.
We'll bang out the first 20 right now, right?
Okay.
Kevin Durant.
Yep.
Stephen Curry.
Yes.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yes.
Luka Doncic.
Yes.
Nikola Jokic.
For sure.
John Morant.
Yes.
Zion Williamson.
Absolutely.
James Harden.
Unlikely, but possible for maybe this year. It gets super hot, but unlikely.
Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Zach LaVine.
Actually, yes.
Jimmy Butler.
Probably not.
Okay, that's the first.
Although he's doing well, I just don't think he's going to put enough numbers to do it.
Bam Adebayo.
Also, probably not.
Pascal Siakam.
No.
Oh, that's a hard no.
I love him, but he's just not that guy.
On this show saying that he thought he was going to become an MVP type player.
I think he could be an all-star. I love him, but not the MVP. And their team's just years away from being that good.
We should find the clip of you and me being like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good. He looks healthy again, too, defensively. But, yeah, it's not likely that he becomes that guy.
Joel Embiid.
Yes.
Trae Young.
Yes.
Damian Lillard.
No.
Oh, that was the first real hard no.
No. Do you think I'm wrong?
I mean, Allen Iverson won one.
Yeah, but how old was he when he won it?
Not 31.
Yeah. I forgot no quizzes. I forgot your rule. Yeah, if you had asked me this 6 years ago, hell yes. I mean, he's been all NBA and everything, but even if he goes to another, team, which we'll talk about later, I think that's a bridge too far. He's just such a bad defensive player.
Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert.
Yes, very unlikely just because of the way people vote, but he's probably deserving of a number 2. He was probably the runner-up last year, metrically anyway.
Paul George.
Yes, he's playing great right now.
DeMar DeRozan.
No.
Evan Mobley.
Yes.
LaMelo Ball.
I probably have to lean towards yes. He's such a prolific offensive player, and especially if he keeps shooting the way he's shooting, I think he's terrible defensively. But you have to say yes right now.
All right, if you're just joining us, I'm just saying names of NBA players, and David's saying yes or no. That's all we're doing.
1% chance of winning an MVP in their career going forward. Yeah.
Anthony Edwards.
Yes.
James Weissman.
Yes.
Cade Cunningham.
Yes.
Ooh, I thought that would say another.
Yeah, I still think he could be Jason Tatum-like, which means it's possible. Yeah. Jonathan
Kuminga.
I mean, it's a huge leap, but if you had said 20%, I would say no. 1%, yes.
Okay. Damian Lillard is so mad about that. Scotty Barnes.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes.
Ben Simmons.
I mean, it looks really dark right now when he just won't play, but yeah, it's possible.
Jalen Green.
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns.
Yes.
LeBron James.
Yes.
Still?
Yes.
You have to play basketball to get this award, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're 11 games in. So, you got to play 65, close to 70. It's again, very unlikely at this point, but yes.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yes.
Jaylen Brown.
Yes, 1%. Yes.
De'Aaron Fox.
Yes. These are all my names I'm throwing in, although I'm not sure I believe all of them. So keep going. We only have a few more.
Wait, are you lying to yourself?
Yeah, I'm throwing it out there for discussion. I threw
Yeah.
some of these names out there.
Julius Randle.
I would probably say no, but he did make All NBA last year and seems to. Well, he's not doing as well this year.
He's
but
not old. He hasn't
no,
improved a lot.
I love him too, but I think it's unlikely. Yeah, I'm going to say no. He could be top 5, but not MVP.
DeAndre Ayton.
I'm going to say about Ayton too. I think Ayton can be an all-league player and not be the MVP.
Miles Bridges.
I wrote him down there for a reason. He's really impressing me very much.
Wow.
I love him.
Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
He's old. He's the same age as Lillard, right?
Yeah, but he's not 6 foot tall, you know?
This is ageist and heightist.
For sure. I am a bigot that way. It's true.
Oh, you see Caleb? Miles
No.
Bridges, he said that's a bridge too far for me. Caleb, gonna be a
Well
fine
done.
dad one day. Kawhi Leonard.
And then, yeah, that's the last name I put in there, isn't it?
No?
Oh, I got a
Jaren
few more.
Jackson Jr.
Well, that's a nod to my boy Gerard.
So you're a no on that.
No, I love him. I think he's slowly starting to figure it out. I think he's got. I mean, again, Giannis won his first MVP in year 6, and then another one in year 7. Jackson, I think, is in year 3. I'm going to say sure, it's possible.
Jalen Suggs.
And that's really pushing it because I just don't think he's going to be a prolific scorer. He's more in the Kyle Lowry mold. So I would say no, but can be an all-league player. He's got that upside. It's possible.
I'm not sure what your answer was there.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
No, all-league, but probably not MVP. Not MVP.
All right, smart people in the chat. Did we miss any candidates? Is there anybody? We're only down to like 30 at this point, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't include college kids, like Chet Holmgren and those guys.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, we probably missed one because he's not playing right now very well. But MPJ, I mean, it's within the realm of possibility that he leads the league in scoring one year, and is playing good enough defense. So I think he needs to be on the list. You're welcome, Gerard.
Yeah, okay, there's a lot of bing bong talk in the chat, and I just want to say I was in New York. Maybe I'm the last person to know this, but like every third person in New York's wearing a t-shirt that says bing bong right now.
Yeah. It's funny.
It's funny. The reason I'm asking this is, well, A, it's a fun debate, but B, I was kind of looking back at this list, right? This is the list of players who have a chance to be like Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Steph Curry in being bigger than the sport, which is not a nice to have for the sport. It's absolutely essential, right? Like you can't have the league without Michael Jordan, right? We wouldn't be here having this conversation right now on Zoom if he didn't exist. And so they need to have this like pipeline of these guys. And I just noticed that like Derrick Rose, Grant Hill, Anthony Hardaway, Yao Ming, a lot of them never get to shine. A lot of them never get to their best season because of injuries, right? And this is where like Zion right now has me, I'm like, oh, I was so convinced by your story that I edited beginning of the year that basically like, this is the MVP candidate we need to keep our eyes on. Like he's just the most precious resource. And like, oh, did we break him already? Like, did we screw it up? Like, is the league just too dangerous for these guys who are so special?
I mean, I think your whole query here is fantastic. I really do. In the individual case of Zion, what I'm hearing is very, very positive news that he's, and I've seen recent pictures of him like really fit. He gets it. He wants to be great.
Wait, was he wearing a fat suit in that little clip that we saw? Is that what the story is?
No, it was just a few weeks ago. And these guys can shed weight so quickly.
Yeah.
Anyone can shed weight so quickly when they're that young and can exercise and exercise some discipline too at the meal table. I've heard very positive reports. And remember, when these guys travel, Henry, with their team, they have to work out at facilities. Forget about when they're in their home facility where it's nothing but their home attendance. So getting information from them is one thing. But when they travel to other gyms to work out, I know people at those places. So I'm hearing extremely positive things about what he looks like now. But I still think your point is dead on because he still could get hurt again. And then here we go. Here comes that cycle all over again, and you start worrying. You and I were talking.
He was hurt in the first half of his first preseason. He was hurt in college, first half of his first summer league game. Then he was out for a while, right? And then I think 2 more injuries since then. It's just a lot. It's a little. It's not exactly the Greg Oden story, but it's not exactly not, right? Like you got to think about that.
Yes. So I think it's all about weight.
Yeah.
And to your question of did you break him yet? We don't know. How would you know? But I know this. He needs to shed. I mean, I've said this. I've written this. We wrote this about Jokic, and it worked out well for him. And it's not just about playing your best at that new weight. It's the longevity of your career, as you're referencing here. Zion, if he plays 10 healthy years, he's going to win at least one MVP. Book it. Mm-hmm. He plays 3. I don't know. It's the odds are way less than 0-1 in those 3 as opposed to 1-10. Yeah. So yes, I think that he needs to lean out considerably, and that's going to take that's a big task to convince a player who was drafted first overall and was a highly rated player coming out of high school because of that build. Just like we've talked before about how do you tell a guy, hey, we don't want you to shoot mid-range when he just made the All-Star team the year before shooting a bunch of mid-range shots.
Yeah.
To tell Zion, we need you to dramatically change your body. I mean, I've said this too. Show him Kevin Love, 18-year-old, and show him 25-year-old Kevin Love. And now, of course, Kevin Love isn't the player Zion was, but there was a period of time where he was one of the best 2 or 3 players in the world for sure. He's just on a sucky franchise. But more importantly, his body was that changed, and it didn't hurt his game. So I would try to inspire Zion to dramatically transform his body. He's not going to get worse at basketball. I can promise you that, but they have to promise him that. And then I think he's got a chance to forget about these bad years. It's really no different than what you know so well about what Steph Curry did to change his issues with his ankles. They've got to do the same kind of thing, I think, with Zion.
I mean, somebody has to be kind of a genius to have the right advice, and then Zion has to trust that person.
Yes.
Too
exactly
big,
right?
Right? Like, too big ifs.
Exactly right. Exactly. It's all about that trust. What I think Gerard and I, maybe it was you and I, one of us, someone in me showed the video of TJ Ford getting the degree, and I think it was you and I, and crying.
Yeah.
And he said exactly that.
Yeah.
I had to trust my parents and Coach Barnes to follow a vision I didn't even see.
Yeah.
It's a little easier when you're that young and blind, as opposed to Zion, who's like, I'm already Zion.
Yeah.
Why would I change? But what I'm hearing is, and it's just periphery stuff, but it's a recognition that, okay, something's got to change. And I think based on just what you said to start, like he's already been hurt a few times and he's just getting going. So the Warriors did it with Curry. Look what happened. He's got to buy into that same thing. And they've got to get really smart people around him, guiding him on the medical side.
I'm so stupid. I just had this idea now, but you and I right now, if you're up for this, should draft. Like, let's say we each get 10 players and we'll check back in like a decade and see who had more MVPs from their list.
So these are, I see. So we're drafting based on who we think can win the most MVPs combined.
Yeah. So you're going to pick 10 players. Do you have the list in front of you?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to pick 10 players. I'm going to pick 10 players, and then we'll see at the end of a decade from now, we'll see who got the most MVPs out of their list. Does that sound right?
Sure. Do we have to go back and forth so we both can't have the same players?
Well, yeah, of course we can't have the same players because then we're going to have a tie.
Well, not if my 10 won't be the same as your 10, but that's fine.
I would just copy your 10 and then we would have a tie.
You're younger than me. You can draft first.
Okay, then you get the next 2. All right, I'll go 1, then you get the next 2.
All right.
And then we'll alternate. If I had thought about this, first of all, I would have said it to you in advance. We'd be more professional. Second of all, I would have thought about who I'd pick first.
I know my top 3 are.
Oh, see, you think about this stuff all the time.
Yes.
I'm doing this in a really dumb way. I think I will take
I can give you my top 3 and you can take 1 because I'm getting the other 2.
Okay.
I'm being generous here.
Okay, this is nice.
So I'm going Luka, Zion, Jokic. Pick your 1.
All right, I'll take Luka.
You're taking Luka. Good choice.
Yeah.
I think Jokic is going to win it again this year. So I've already got one in the bag. And so I'm taking, and Jokic might win more than that. He's by far, I'm going to write about him. I told you, I think he's the best player in the world again by a lot. I'm going to go with Jokic and Zion in my next two.
Okay. Crossing them off my list here. All right. I'm going to take Giannis.
Damn you, Abbott. All right, I'm gonna take KD because I think he's gonna get one this year. So at least I have two in the books between Jokic and KD. One of those two are gonna get one.
So we're just alternating now, right? Everyone agrees on these rules.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I'll take Steph.
Fucker. You're not stupid. All right, I'm gonna go with Embiid.
Oh.
There's a couple good names on there.
Yeah, there's some good ones. I will take. I'm gonna sneak in there with a little bit of Devin Booker.
Nicely done. Okay, so we've got those names out. I really love Ja, but I don't want you to have
good enough though.
Huh?
Are the Grizzlies good enough?
Not now. I mean, they're really struggling right now. Yeah. I don't want to be a hypocrite and then have you forevermore lord it against me that you have Scotty Barnes on your team.
Oh my gosh, Scotty Barnes is going here?
I have to take Scotty. He doesn't deserve quite then, but Donovan Mitchell should be on the list, by the way.
Well, I'm not going to pick him.
I'm not taking him.
Okay.
Two more each. You get two more, I get one more.
I thought we were doing 10, not 10.
You want to do 10? That's a lot. Okay.
Yeah, let's get deep. Then we're gonna that way we can upset and offend more people with our list, and then it's a bigger story.
Okay, I got
how the internet works, David. Okay, you got Scotty Barnes. I think I'm gonna go Trae Young.
That's just what I was gonna say. Well done by you. I really like I love what Zach LaVine's doing right now. Mm-hmm. I just don't think he's going to get to that point. I'm going to take Mobley. I'm going to go with the other young cat.
That's what I was going to do next. Honestly, with a decade range, youth is just huge here.
I got Barnes and Mobley.
I think. Boy, it's not the worst thing to have Anthony Edwards.
No, he's an unbelievable offensive player. Yeah, I'm gonna. This guy needs some work. He needs to be traded or just a major change. But Karl-Anthony Towns, who just doesn't do enough, but he could. He's such a skilled offensive player.
All right, I'm going LaMelo Ball.
Good for you. Enjoy his dad. He's a hell of an offensive player too. I don't think Kawhi is going to play. I already have Embiid on my team. None of us are taking LeBron. How many are we taking so far?
It's 7 each.
We're at 7?
Yeah, 3 more.
I don't think, if Fox were to go somewhere else, he'd be okay. All right, so I'm going to go with, I think I said Bam as a no. All right, I'm going to go with Zach LaVine.
Okay.
He could lead the league in score. He could lead the league in scoring, and his team could be really good.
I'm gonna go Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
That would have been my next pick because I want to take him over Jalen Green. I don't trust Jalen Green. He's not playing at all, but that's too much of reach to say. I'm gonna go Jason Tatum over Ben Simmons.
Interesting. Ben Simmons, you're right. That's for just the social response we're gonna get. That they're a great topic. So I'm gonna go Ben Simmons. People are gonna think I'm high as a kite. Okay.
So you took Ben Simmons?
I did. Yep.
All right, I'm gonna take Jaren Jackson Jr.
Oh wow. Guess who I'm gonna take at the end here?
Dame Lillard.
LeBron James.
Yeah. It's not a terrible pick.
Okay, ready? So let's make sure I have this right. You have Zion, Jokic, KD, Embiid, Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, Karl-Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, Jason Tatum, and JJJ. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we should have Anthony Davis in there too.
Oh,
He just never plays enough minutes. He never plays enough games.
what an embarrassing oversight that is. Okay, I have Luka, Giannis, Steph. They're pretty famous. Devin Booker, Trae Young, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Ben Simmons, and LeBron James.
Yeah.
This is gonna be. I don't know who got the better. This is interesting. This is gonna be close.
Yeah, we're betting on upside. But to your major point, none of this matters if we're not taking care of guys' bodies. We were talking this morning about it's got to start in high school and college. And you know this better than me because you've dealt with Marcus Elliott and P3 for a long time. How these guys their bodies are wrecked when they get to P3 after 1 year of college. It's not college's fault.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming college. They're already wrecked. I went through with my son in AAU. That's the problem, is it's just so many games and specialization. And it never ends. And these guys can do it at that age, at 15, 16, 17 or younger. They seemingly can always play, but I mean, they're beat up. And they still.
Somebody should make like a fireside show about how to parent athletes so that they can have healthier, happier, more successful lives.
Okay. Yeah. For sure. It's something that, in baseball, they're really doing a good job of tracking pitch counts at a young age. There's no doubt that there are places that cheat because we dealt with them. And so, like, for example, when my son was a player up through 13, we tracked breaking balls. You could only throw two. I never let my son throw a single breaking ball, but he was just so prepubescent. I thought I was a major. I didn't know any better, and I just thought.
Just in case anybody here was like raised by English parents in Oregon where there's no baseball, can we just recap what a breaking ball is?
So a curve ball, a ball that doesn't just go in a straight line and maybe rise with speed, but it kind of falls off a table, as they say.
Yeah.
And so there's a certain thing you do with your wrist and your fingers and your arm, and it's just adds a lot of stress to your arm. So we tracked pitch counts per inning and per game. And then we tracked breaking balls for those players that were allowed to throw them. And again, I didn't let my son, who pitched all the time, I didn't let him throw. And you could only throw two an inning. And when you threw a third one, the manager would scream at you, or the kid's dad sometimes, and he'd take you out. You just couldn't do it. We were cared. But we saw teams, and I'm not kidding, Henry, 13, 14-year-old kids, that all they threw because they didn't have enough speed, breaking ball all the time. It's hard for these kids to hit that. And every one of those kids, we tracked it pretty good. None of them are doing it now. In fact, the best pitcher from our area was on my son's team. He's now playing at Florida State, a top 15 program in the country, and he didn't even pitch for us. His dad didn't even let him pitch. He became a great pitcher in high school, and now is pitching at Florida State, where my son is. That his dad was smart. He protected him.
There's so much crazy, like David Epstein's book Range, and talking about how a lot of superstars in different sports come from tiny towns, because in tiny towns, they don't have enough players for the football team and the track team and the basketball team. So everybody does every sport. And then that's actually better preparation for your single sport than playing the single sport. Right. Or this one really impressed me, but when I went to Sparta Science in Silicon Valley, they're basically like, baseball is a rotational sport. Right. And so you already just playing the game. You do tons of workout like this. So in season, you want to work out straight line, right? Sprinters do a lot of straight line work. So in season, they want to work out rotationally, right? And I just feel like there's like Michael Jordan golfing golf's actually good for him because he can get a little stronger, a little workout, but not in the things that are overtaxed. I just feel like it's so obvious now that like you should not be doing a single sport year round. I don't even think as an adult you should be doing it, right? Like you should be like swim season starting right here now. I guess everywhere. Drop knows all about it. And like, I love that some of the kids on the team are football players or soccer players or lacrosse players who are just doing something else for a few months, right? Like this is something probably your grandparents knew about, and it's pretty.
Yes, I mean, science has talked about it. The Dr. Andrews, the orthopedic surgeon from Alabama, has written about this, and it's why we didn't even let our daughter dance competitively until she was, almost in high school. Yeah, we just didn't want it to be that. It's turned out she still hurt her knee, she probably was doing too much, and she was doing all sorts of kind of dancing too. She wasn't just point and ballet, and she did tap, she did jet. We try to mix it up. But of course they have an advantage with me being involved in sports. The average parent doesn't know any better, which is why we have this fireside chat to begin with, is most parents don't really know anything about this world. And unfortunately, there's some, I think, very unscrupulous. I've never met any unscrupulous women doing it. I've met a lot of men that are only out to make money on the backs of their really good players, as if it matters so much when they're 12 or 13. And we wear athletes out. And the people who are running these events don't think about it. So they're asking 5-6 games a weekend for these young players. And there are some teams that only have 5 or 6 good players. We played 9 or 10 minimum every game.
Yeah.
And we often would sit players out. We did it just like the NBA. We would, if we had a good chance to win without our best players, we just didn't play our best players at all. Not 1 minute. Yeah.
So this is the kind of stuff David talks about Tuesdays at noon on the Fireside app. There's a little rigmarole to get signed up for the app. It's worth doing that in advance. And then it really does have extraordinary, like the quality of like video and the audio is pretty cool. Worth checking out. I would go see David live, and you can ask your questions, and you can make little applause sounds and stuff. It's cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you realize that you're opening up this like part of David's brain, or like this is a home game for him. Like everything that comes up that any parent has a question about with a kid being an athlete, David's like, oh yeah, no, just tell him this, do this. I use David like this as a resource myself. I'm like, oh, like, we have this question about my kid as an athlete, and he's like, oh, well, just do this, try this. And like, it's
yes. Don't send in questions about woodworking, automobiles, almost anything in the world that you could think of. I am not the person to seek advice from. When it comes to sports and your children or your nephews and nieces, I've been around a little bit. Tomorrow we're going to talk. Yeah, we're kind of finish up. We've been moving up the ladder. We're going to do another high school thing tomorrow and get into what we're talking about now, which is what about when you think your child can play in college? What does that mean? What does it look like? It's just a different world. It's so hard. And to your point about this whole thing about health, it is literally tragic when someone can't reach, to your question about reaching potential because of an injury, because it's like lightning striking. You have a better chance of getting struck by lightning than making the NBA, but you do as well just to play high level college.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of work it takes, the discipline, the dedication, all of it is just so few players are that fortunate. And I mean, in my son's case, he got super lucky. He had me as a dad, and he broke his ankle as a junior, not a senior. And that broken ankle, in my opinion, came from overuse. His coach scheduled way too many games in way too short a period of time, and he'd play him 31 minutes a game. And I was the only dad alive begging to play my son less.
Yeah.
But this guy was a sadist and a jerk, and I just wasn't strong enough a man to tell my son, you're just not playing today. And he would have done it. He would have. I think my son loved me enough to know that I loved him enough that when I gave him that advice, he would have listened. And I should have.
Today, we should talk about the Warriors with this exact issue, because they have a lot of players now. It's amazing that they do. Like, their problem was they didn't have enough players, but now they have a lot of players. And now they have Clay coming back, Weissman coming back.
And Kuminga, who just got in the rotation. Well, he played one game anyway.
But they suddenly, like, good players are going to be squeezed. And, well, how would you handle that?
Well, I think you and I, if we were running the team, we'd handle it great. The players may not like how we do it, but you just have to look at, okay, you can't overplay Steph. You can't overplay Draymond for very obvious reasons. Wiggins is making progress. And Wiggins, he's not going to be an MVP, but he's making progress on both ends. He was very good the other day. And Charlotte, I think he scored pretty well. Their team struggled offensively yesterday. And he had some very good defensive possessions late in the game. Very, very good defensive possessions. But you got to get Weissman playing time. You got to get Kuminga playing time. Moses Moody is not playing at all. He was a lottery pick, although I think he should be in the G League more. And so you just got to convince your team that we're better off losing some games. I'm sorry, we're better off winning more at risk by playing these younger guys and sitting you entirely or limiting your minutes in some of these games so that we're healthier in the stretch run. Yeah. And so you gotta, You got to play Weissman some. You got to give those guys chances to fail and get better, and you got to limit your older guys who are more risk for injury at the same time, and just beg Steph and Draymond to be the leaders of that movement. To say, guys, we're expecting you to play well because you're Warriors, and we may lose some games because of it.
You guys are really daring me in the chat here. They're talking about woodworking a lot because you mentioned it, David. And like, I actually have an incredible and grotesque and recent woodworking story that has nothing to do with our show, but it's circling in my head like big time. So I think, okay, just gonna cite for the millionth time. The finest experts in the land say you can go 5 max efforts over 2 weeks before your injury risk goes up.
Yep.
I would just go straight to Steph and Dre and Clay and say, let's work out your schedule. And there's going to be these, and I would go right to, Weissman and Kuminga and say, hey, guess what? You guys are going to start on these days, right? You're going to have 10 games over the year. You're just going to blow it out, show what you can do. And like, you might really develop something magical out of that.
Yeah.
And you're going to arrive in April and May, like just so much less likely to be beat up.
Just to that point, it's not about the Warriors, but a team like Oklahoma City, who I think is 5-7, someone could correct me, with very little talent, although they're doing pretty good. Again, to be 5-7, I thought they'd be 16 wins for the year. Lou Dort's playing really well. That might be the team to do just what you're saying. A team that really has no chance of being they're not relevant for the playoffs beyond a play-in game, which I guess is possible. That might be a cool experiment to take. Is let's try that and see how well we do that way. Yeah.
And then you do the Popovich thing where if your bench brings you back from being way down, you just don't bring the starters back. Like, I think it actually often fails because the bench players aren't used to those minutes, and then they peter out.
They get so tired.
They get so tired.
Oh yeah, they get so tired.
Then you could,
let me just say this as an older man, I can say this for these young guys. It's adorable to watch normally second unit players who are just rolling. Yeah. And they are, especially if they're young, are thinking, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to breathe now because they're racing up and down the court. They're making plays. There's a foul and they're struggling to catch their breath because they're in getting a longer rotation. It's great to watch. I love it.
It is. Okay. My other question for the Warriors is, they're going to have to get rid of some money, right? At some point in the next few years, they cannot afford to pay everybody. Can they get by without somebody now, right? Like, is this a moment, as we're just saying, they have a lot of players, like, is now the moment to get rid of a big salary?
I mean, yeah, Clay.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's going to sound, I don't know, ironical. If he comes back healthy, that's great. Out of trade.
Yeah.
His value is probably above where it should be. And he looks healthy. Send him to a team that, the Bulls took DeRozan and it's working. Someone's going to take Klay Thompson. So again, sounds ironic that if he looks good, that's when you trade him, but probably that's what they should do.
Yeah.
If they want to save money and actually be relevant that way.
Well, and what about, could they get by with it? Would they be much worse without Wiggins if Klay can play?
Well, Wiggins makes a lot of money too, but I don't know how much value he has. Clay's going to be better probably to trade just because of what people think of him.
Yeah. And
Klay hasn't wanted to play defense in a while. I can't believe coming off these surgeries, he'll suddenly want to.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if Klay is Klay, he's better than Wiggins, certainly in the postseason. But you also have to think about Wiggins is an innings eater, so to speak. And that matters in the postseason to some degree.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. So we're moving on to my Blazers. I have a note that's from you, which says they suck.
That wasn't a note. That was a verbal comment. Well, you were asking me to list the things going wrong with Portland right now. And it's not even true. They don't suck. Without Damian, they sucked against Denver yesterday, but they're just okay. They're just okay.
So recapping this Blazers situation, they're on the clock to impress Damian with their ability to put together a championship team in Portland. That was the news of the summer. They have a coach who arrived with a little bit of a dark cloud because of his sexual history. They have GM who's being investigated right now for being a jerk. They have the president who quit over the weekend. They have attendance down. They have a bad record, and reports that the owner is troublesome. Like, that's bad.
Yeah. Did you find? I failed you to find Chauncey's quote.
Oh, and Chauncey said that's right. After the last game, Chauncey said that he was disappointed with the effort and the fire, and that it was the kind of disappointment that was consistent that might lead to like some changes around here or change some things, kind of way coaches don't usually talk.
Right. He could mean more second unit guys playing first unit minutes, or it could be more ominous that he's going to back the idea of some kind of trade.
Or it could be a system change, right? It could be like, we're going to not switch screens anymore or something, or who knows.
That's true. I haven't looked. What are they on dunks and threes defensively right now? I don't trust individual stats yet, but what are they?
Hold on.
Yeah, defensive EPM. I'm wondering, because he definitely made some changes. I thought they were doing
research
better.
Last time I looked, they were like 23rd, but let me look it up.
In defense?
Yeah, I think they're actually. I heard that they're very good at home, like top 10, but
on defense. Wow.
On defense, but on the road, they just won their first game on the road. All in all, yeah, they're 26th on dunks and threes in defense.
And defensive EPM, really that bad? Wow. So what I said to you this morning, we talked about it, was when you're on a team that is not going to be very good going in, and that's the expectation. I think there's a desire to prove them wrong, because even by outpacing the expectations by 3 or 4 wins, it seems meaningful. When you're on a team that isn't as good as what everyone wants it to be, and if you don't get there, there's going to be some also changes. I think it's spirit sapping.
Yeah.
And so that might be one reason why, though I told you I don't like what Chauncey wanted to do to start the year defensively. I didn't think they had the manpower for it, the personnel for it. The Damian thing over their head, the O'Shea thing, it's just adding up to a bunch of just yuck. It can't be fun being a Blazer right now. We're going to practice every day, and I just think there's a dark cloud. And I've helped players on teams, like when Scott was in his last year in Chicago, there was just a really dark cloud over that team. It wasn't joyous. It wasn't fun. That was the year. I could be wrong. Someone could tell me I'm wrong, but I think it was the same year that Joakim Noah got basically fined by his teammates for speaking out about some really terrible habits that they were doing that I'm aware of. I don't know if it ever was public, but it was bullshit that he was fined. And there was a division within the veterans of, why are we punishing the one rookie willing to speak out against the bullshit that we're doing as a team collectively? But that was just part of the darkness of that group. And Skiles was the leader and a big part of the problem, in my opinion. And you just kind of knew it wasn't working. And then the wheels really came off. He got fired. I just feel like in Portland, there's just nothing positive coming. And so I think they're just not fired up.
Who's the magnetic force who's going to pull everybody into the group project, right? Like, can't be the guy under investigation, right?
Right. And it can't be your best player when you're not really believing what he says publicly about, he said we were on notice for leaving, but now he says he's all in. Why?
And I was a little bit, I do like CJ McCollum's podcast. He's just an interesting guy, but part of me was like, I hope CJ, who is that guy, right? I hope he's the one who's like going out to dinner with 5 young players. He actually laps into this little wine section of his podcast, talking about how, as often as possible, he likes to meet up with the equipment manager for a glass of wine, like in the hotel lobby. And I'm like, I mean, that's great. I'm happy he's happy, but like, I'm not going to have this effect. You know what I mean?
No, but how could CJ serve in that role, knowing he could get traded tomorrow?
Yeah, no, there's no ground to build on, right? There might be. There are plenty of good players on that roster. Like, there's a way it could work, but it just doesn't feel like the dynamic is close. It just feels like a little off. What's your bet? You think they make a huge trade?
Yeah, I do. I don't know who does the trade.
Yeah.
Who's the number 2 there? I don't even know.
Well, and so this is my other thought is one way you could convince Dame that you're the right place for him is to basically let him pick the GM.
Yeah.
Right. That
What
would
a
be
mistake that would be.
Sharif Abdul-Rahim, I bet. I mean, because he's very close. He has some credentials and he's very close to Dame's agent.
Listen, there's very few people more in tune with player empowerment than me. I've always believed that I'm not going to go into that, but it's a really hard league. It's the best league in the world. And just like I don't like when coaches also act as general managers, and I've been saying that for years, I don't want players doing that either. I don't think it's just hard enough to be a good player.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible. That's why there's so few of them. Our list is short. Of our 20, 12 are almost for sure not going to win an MVP.
Yeah.
There might be a 1%, but or 2%. It's hard to do both. I wish Damian would be able to resist that and say, let me just be a player.
Well, I'm making this up for the record. This is just imagined. So there's nothing to worry about with Dame, right? Like he didn't do this.
Of course. Right.
I could see if you were Jody Allen, you might be like, well,
absolutely.
Great if we can get Dame happy. So let's just use our opening for that.
And it's not the first time it's happened. I mean, obviously players are involved in that. And I think getting their counsel is a good idea.
Yeah.
But ask for 5 names, ask for 7 names, not just any one name. And that gives them some deniability too. I didn't pick anyone. I named some people I think are really good and they made their choice.
Yeah.
It's just hard. It's hard enough to be an amazing player. Think about if you're Damian Lillard and there's 10, 12, 14 guys like this, you're already the target of every team scouting report, number 1 on the list. They're scheming to slow you down. They're not just guarding you. That's everybody else, right? Miles Bridges is just guarded right now. At some point, you really need to be schemed for at a pretty high level. And then we'll see how you do. And so that's enough. Take care of your body. Take care of your family. Be a great teammate. There's all these things going on to also have to be the general manager in a sense, a de facto guy in charge. You're asking for too much and you're asking for pain, basically.
Well, and there was a time when a lot of teams were run by people who didn't work very hard or know the cap very well or understand luxury tax, right? Not anymore. Now it's like you're going to win with these little loopholes where you exploited this little opening of some part of the bylaws. And if you don't have one of those GMs, you're behind, right? Like you're going to want to have someone who's an absolute wizard of that. Someone who's the Michael Jordan of the fine print, right?
Well, hey, Henry, that's a point we should probably address. Being able to evaluate talent, project talent, and also building culture are enormously important, but that's not the only role of an executive in this league. And to discount the ability to think about the money part of it. Like my son wants to do this one day. I'm asking him to get a master's in finance for this reason. It's great that you understand what a great program looks like and can evaluate players and blah, blah, blah. But managing money matters hugely. And what do these players know about that side of it? They may manage their money great, don't get me wrong. But unless they're going to recommend their own financial planner, it's hard for them to really understand who understands that well. Why would they know? That's just not their world. And
it's also just a stupid system, right? It's designed to be complicated so that few master it, right? It's like when the Sloan conference began, all anyone would talk about was how Daryl and Sam had 10 analysts at the Rockets. And, there are all these Ed Kupfer and all these guys, right? Like are analyzing all this stuff. And the idea was that they would have tremendous advantages and win more games from exploiting knowledge they had about having Ron Artest shoot corner threes or whatever, right? But in fact, that's not what their time was best spent on, right? They mostly had those 10 analysts spend their time on the CBA.
Yeah.
Right. And they, remember all those like strangely constructed restricted free agent deals they made, right? They signed a couple of free agents to deals that basically the team couldn't match. This was the product of their analysts, right? It was just understanding these little things. Or the other category that goes into is how positive can you be, what other teams need, right? So if you're really sure you know what they need, then you draft the guy you don't want ahead of them, and then you hold it hold them for ransom.
Yeah.
Right? You get what you want. Like this kind of stuff this is not watching basketball.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with it, right? But that's the kind of stuff. This is the way you get leverage in the game of putting together an NBA team, right? This is the game post Daryl Morey, right?
Yeah, it's three-dimensional chess, right? It's I just watched an episode of West Wing, and the president did some things. He was just thinking way down the line in a way that no one could really see, but he could see it.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is counter-espionage in a sense.
Yeah.
That's my point is nothing against Dame Lillard or LeBron or anyone, but they are geniuses like Mozart in their one world and not in the other part of it, because they're not spending all their time doing it. Nor should they. They can't afford
to. Okay. We should talk about the standings. David, is the best team in the East the Washington Wizards? Is that where we are?
Listen, there's a lot to be said about building the right culture, getting the right coach. You know how I felt about that. I haven't looked to see if you have ducked and threes up. You can see the Wizards' strength of schedule right now. It was very bad last time I looked. Nothing. It's not their fault. They're playing the team that the NBA is making them play, but they have the best record at 9-3. Brooklyn's right on their heels at 10-4, and the Bulls are right there at 9-4. But the Wizards, they're, I don't think they're going to be even a top 3 or 4 seed when it's all said and done.
There you go.
But the better off they start now, the better chance they have to be there later, at least in the playoffs to some degree, which I think they're going to make.
They're now in the middle of the pack for strength of schedule, so not too bad.
No, not bad. Yeah.
Okay, you have a lot of points you want to make about the early standings, though. Oh, and one other note is, years ago, Tom Haberstroh wrote a story that basically, like 26 games into the season, is about when the standings start to look like the end.
26 or 20?
26.
26. Okay.
I thought that was interesting.
Halfway there.
We're halfway there. So in a way, it feels like, oh, it's so stupid. What team is the craziest right now? I think it's like, maybe the Lakers. We think are going to be higher, but yeah, but we're getting to a point where like most seasons are getting kind of set by Christmas. That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, I would say even maybe a little earlier than that, right? Maybe a first, second week of December. If Atlanta's still below 500, that's a sign. They just lost DeAndre Hunter for I think 8 weeks to another injury, which is good for Cam Reddish, bad for the Hawks. We've already seen a couple of teams. We've already seen some kind of transformations. Phoenix struggled, and now I think they've won maybe 6 in a row. Utah was rolling, and now they're kind of collapsing and fighting, and and getting guys ejected. And so that's interesting to see. I mean, all these teams. I made a note. 9 teams are separated by 5 wins in the West, 13 in the East. Mm-hmm. You get yourself on an 8 or 9 game win streak, and you're going to really move up because everyone else is beating everyone else. But I also, I think that I think Milwaukee is going to make the playoffs, and right now they're not in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Middleton's out with COVID protocols, and that's definitely hurt. There's a hangover from what they went through. I think it's a product of a 3-year process for them, 3-season process. Getting knocked out by who knocked them out? Philly or Toronto? Who knocked out the Bucks a couple years ago before the bubble year?
No, that was the Kawhi's shot that bounced.
That was Toronto. That was Toronto. Yeah. No, that was the Sixers. Right? Am I right?
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So they were at 1 seed, and then it was the bubble, and then last year winning the championship. They still get DiVincenzo back, and they'll get Middleton back from the COVID thing. So I think that they're going to be fine. I think Atlanta's going to figure it out too, to at least some degree. They've been disappointing, but I mean, Cleveland is on a roll. They've won 6 of 7, and their only loss of those 7 was to the Wizards, where Kuzma hit 2 threes in the last 30 seconds. I think the Cavaliers had a pretty good lead in that game. They could be 7 straight. So that they seem to have, like, I think the Wizards and the Cavs have found a winning formula, a winning identity, a winning formula. And it's not going to last to the point where they'll be a top 4 seed, in my opinion. But I mean, they're gonna be playoff teams, it looks like. And I would not have thought that for Cleveland for sure. I thought I had the Wizards, I think, in my top 10, not Cleveland. So I'm really glad for Cleveland.
Well, and in the East, okay, so Brooklyn's a playoff team. The Bulls are a playoff team. You're saying the Wizards and Cavaliers, the 76ers, Heat, and Knicks, right?
Yeah. The Knicks would be the last one in there.
And the Bucks of that. I didn't say the Bucks or Hawks yet.
Right. So the Bucks will be there in place of the Knicks. And did you say Boston?
Nope.
That's another team. Boston, I think, has a losing record. I'm not looking in front of me.
Boston's 6-7 right now.
Yeah, 6-7 is what I thought. And they've had a number of like absolute end of game losses. And I think one really bad blown lead, maybe to Philadelphia, I don't remember, or maybe Toronto, where they had a big lead and lost. Or they could have a very good record. And I still think they'll figure it out. And so, yeah, you're talking about 2 OT losses, Greg says. Yeah. So it's good. That's what I'm saying. There's 13 teams all close. There's going to be some good teams don't make it. So, yeah, Cleveland could end up not making it just because one of these other teams come through. But they're giving themselves a chance now. They wouldn't have that chance before.
Knicks are not assured.
Nope.
Celtics not assured. Hawks not assured, right? Like everyone's got a scrap.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long way to go. Atlanta should separate themselves a little bit. You wouldn't think a team coached by Nate McMillan would struggle defensively over the course of a season. And you know what? The Pacers, they still have a chance. They had a very bad start. And now they're 6-8. And I think they're pretty good. I definitely think they could be a play-in team.
Why are the Jazz collapsing?
Yeah, my personal opinion is they fucked with a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
They fucked with a great thing. There was a chemistry on that team last year that I thought should have won a championship had Conley and Donovan not both been hurt at different stretches in the playoffs. And then I also thought Quinn did a bad job coaching the postseason, as he's done a few times, in my opinion. But they had a chemistry that was really special. And they've got some personality issues. The Donovan Gobert thing is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Rudy is a pain in the ass to be a teammate with, I think, anyway, although he's an amazing player. On the court, not a problem. And so I just think they fucked with that chemistry, and they're getting what they're getting. We'll see what happens from there. Joe Ingles can be a little bit, fuck everybody. He's got that little bit of that Aussie swagger of, you guys are a bunch of idiots kind of thing. He's a brilliant player who played so well last year. They're a little bit fragile right now. And again, evidenced by, they just had a bad loss the other day. And then, of course, the ejection game. And yeah, they're kind of a mess. I mean, they're very talented. They should.
And they're still 8-5. They're,
yeah, they're not terrible.
They're not terrible.
They're on a bad streak right now. The Clippers and the Lakers, I think, are going to get rolling a little bit. I think they're going to be fine. I think Davis is not afraid to call them out. They need LeBron to be healthy, obviously. And that's it. I think he's coming back pretty soon, right? And that the word everyone says is soon. I don't know when it is.
Well, look, they've set up this thing, Lillard in the same boat, right? Where once you have your nagging core issue, you're now cleared of all the rules of load management, right? You can sit any game of the year with your nagging core issue. It's like perfect diagnosis if you want to just sit when you want to sit, right? I would do that.
But all of this, and maybe this is time to get Gerard. I hate to pigeonhole Gerard as a Brooklyn expert only. He watched the whole league, but he and I have talked about this on our show before on Fridays. Well, as these teams duke it out, there's Kevin Durant and James Harden and maybe Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie may be able to come back just because it's possible by May you don't have to be vaccinated anymore. I don't think this is going to be the case. I'm very worried about the northern part of America and then my area back next summer. Just because we all go back inside because of air conditioning. We have to be inside. It's too hot outside. But if everyone else is duking it out and they've got this guy with Harden and then Kyrie too, I mean, they're back to being the favorites again.
John, I apologize. It's late in the game. I don't have my regular clock set up, but if you can join us, that'd be Fantastic.
All good, Henry. All
Here
good.
he is. How's it going, man?
It's going well.
Right. What I'm saying makes sense, right, Gerard?
Well, Coach, our terrible new mayor, Eric Adams, will not. I mean, yes, I don't like him. But he will not be lifting the vaccine mandate. So that's, I guess, the one good thing he's going to do during his tenure is not lift the vaccine mandate. But like I told you, they have to set a deadline, and internally,
Yeah,
there's one.
I agree.
And it's like, dude, because you ain't coming back April 1, then we're going to start rolling. Like, that isn't how this is working.
What's the deadline?
I don't know it, but I mean, if it were me, I'd say, bro, January 1. I'll give you
January 1 is what I thought too.
I'll give you New Year's.
Yeah.
It's
Or we're going to trade you. Is that what you're saying, Gerard?
Well, something.
Well, you're not going to hold on to him for nothing.
No, because this is the last year of his deal anyway. So
Yeah, there you go. Right.
You know,
Right. That's right.
he becomes inspiring. Maybe he goes to a team this is not an issue in whatever city they're in, and you're going to get back equal value, but you'll get back maybe something that you need.
That's it's such a crazy situation. Like, there's no conventional playbook for what happens next now, right?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, it's so bizarre.
And Gerard, so there no one's talking about the Nets right now because there's lots of other things to talk about. But there they are, 10-4. Half a game out of the lead, but out of first place. One game out of first place. What's the vibe with them? Do you think? They're a big win the other day.
They're happy with what they got. They're doing the standard company line. Like, we're just trying to get better every day, which they are. They're buying into a different identity, because the big thing with this team is that when you had those three together, no matter what you did, ran a second unit, whatever, you would have one of those guys with them. And that just makes you better than every other team in the league, because no team can do that. Well, without him now, and Steve is tinkering, right? He's trying to figure out, because he'll rest James and Kevin together a lot, because he's trying to figure out when the second unit, who's going to do, because at some point, one of you's got to do something when we have Kevin and James resting in the playoffs. Right now, it's looking like LaMarcus Aldridge, but he's 36, so you can't really count on that. Patty Mills, but Joe Harris twisted his ankle last night. Don't know how long he's going to be out. So Patty's now going to have to move. Every time something like that happens, Coach, everyone's got to slide up a slot, and then that's problematic for the way bottom of the roster.
Everything looks really easy for Kevin Durant now, right? Like,
I mean, he's so ridiculous. But I said this to Coach on Friday, and this, Henry, this worries me. Like, I don't care about games in December and November. Like, who cares? Like, that doesn't matter. The 16 games come April, May, June, those are the games you care about, right? And, I'm with you on the 5 games every 2 weeks, but these guys are like, I got to be in rhythm. I got to play. And it's like, no, you don't. But
and every time I hear but for 1 foot over the line, they would have won that series. It's like, no.
Yeah.
It was lucky to get as far as they did. He was so spent. It was such a bad approach. Like out of gas. He was out of gas.
They know that. And they know that that's not a strategy for this postseason. Yeah. Like, they are we can't. I mean, he said it on media day. He's like, I'm so glad you guys think I could do that for an entire playoff run, but that's not sustainable. Like,
but do you think Harden's getting back fit, right? He's getting his fitness level.
He's rounding into shape. That burst is starting to come back a little bit. Yeah. And Coach, he's doing something where in the past, when he would drive to the lane, yes, he would initiate the contact, but initiate it in a way that would be his primary objective. Scoring was the secondary objective. He's switching it now. He's still initiating contact, but he's going with the objective of scoring. If they call the foul, fine, they call it. And you're starting to see a little bit of difference there. Yes, he is rounding into shape, Caleb.
and just to be clear, we're talking about 2 of the greatest geniuses that have ever played the game offensively in Harden and Durant. It can get lost in their pure talent of skill and size and shot making. Both of those guys, not one, both of them are brilliant 5-on-5 basketball players when asked. And Nash has asked them to be that.
Yep.
They're not just talented dudes. They are beyond the pale. And they understand how to play we ball. Like, they know how to play, get us going. They both do, not just one.
They love it when Patty and Joe and all those, they're like, yes, please, you guys score, because that takes burden off of them.
Yeah. We got to keep an eye on them, because with all the battle royale going on with all these other teams that are so close, That's why the Lakers, too, as crazy as that sounds, if we could pretend for 1 second in the 25 games we have left that we know LeBron's going to be really healthy for 16 games, he and AD, those two guys it'd be unbelievable battle. Unbelievable.
Guys, I'm in the room with Judy. I cannot be late. We might actually
pick that up on Friday, Gerard.
Henry, I'll report to the group chat from Barclays Center tomorrow night.
Nice. Okay. Looking forward to it. Thanks, man.
I'll let you know what's happening.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you, Judy.